Guys, this is Carpenter's Touch, the podcast, right? So in this podcast, it's the same guy, Junior Garcia, right? We're gonna give you in a forum through YouTube, the same construction, but what is different? We're gonna get in depth, right? We're gonna get deep into what people generally want to know. Homeowners want to know, new contractors want to know, the questions that kind of people they don't really want to talk about, right? And the things that happen behind the scene. Every construction company has a behind the scene, but nobody wants to really talk about it, right? Nobody wants to talk about the bad client. Nobody wants to talk about the bad sub. Nobody wants to talk about what happens during a construction site. What is the price? What's financing? How do I finance at 24 months, right? 0%. Do I qualify? These are things that you will learn at this podcast. Not just that, right? I'm going to have some special guests, right? Other contractors, other builders, some vendors. We're going to get a solar guy to come in here because you might say, hey, Junior, I really want to get solar at my house. Is solar going to work? Is the numbers going to add up? Guess what? I had a client. They were going to go ahead and do solar. And all of a sudden, after they read the report, the solar report was saying it was not generating enough energy and they were going to invest X amount of dollars. And guess what? They decided to not do solar. So we're going to learn everything about solar here as well. And then if you have any comments, leave them below. Let me know if you have an idea. But we're going to have a couple surprises, right? And everybody loves some surprises. But let's kick it off. Hey guys, welcome to another remodel. We are in another remodel. Keep watching. What better way to start this podcast than kind of sharing what really happens, right? Crazy. We was going to start this podcast with a fellow contractor and we're just going to blow it up, right? We're just going to put people on blast and just tell people, hey, listen, we have crazy clients, right? So generally I get one a year, right? I actually get one contractor, one client, a crazy client a year. Do I get detailed clients? I get them a lot, right? I just had one recently last week, just gave me a piece of paper. Hey, listen, Junior, this is what we want. Blah, 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 blah. I'm good with that, right? I'm actually good with you giving me a list of the things you want me to quote, right? But the crazy client, and we're just going to kind of blow it up and just say, but we want to kind of bring it out to clients and tell them, what are the questions, right, that you should ask a contractor? You should ask them this, so you don't become the crazy client. I'm just saying, right? Because what happens, like, I hate to be redundant, but if you email me and call me about the same thing, you really didn't listen to the contractor or me, right? It's not just about me. It's about the HVAC guy. It's about the landscaper, about the electrician, about the plumber, about the roofer, about the siding, about the builder, that we go through these crazy clients, right? So we're not going to do that, but we're going to show you on a different... Or we're going to share with you on a different podcast, right? The crazy clients, right? We will have that. And because every contractor has it, right? Everybody has crazy clients.
This one, or any business owner.
Or any business owner. I mean, listen, people have been kicked out of Walmart. They've been kicked out of Starbucks. They've been kicked out of Dunkin' Donuts. Like, you're banned, dude. You can't come in here. You're just crazy. No, I want my coffee to be black, 10 sugars. What? 10? Yeah, every day. And I need you to stir it. No, it's not hot enough. And they come back. So people are generally banned in a situation like that, right? So we don't want my future clients or other, if you decide to hire somebody else, you don't want to be that person, right? Pete, what are the questions we get?
All right, so we normally get how long you've been in business.
How long you definitely been in business. I guess that kind of sets the foundation to kind of know, like if you've been in business for about a year, then you're like, okay, this guy is probably learning and he's going to learn on my job site. I'm not going to hire him. He may sound like he knows something, but what happens is he's only been in business for a year, so I am not going to hire him. So those are the questions that you should ask a contractor. How long you been in business? Get it in there. Get in there. Hey, how you doing? Oh, you're a Yankee fan? Okay, that's great. I like that. You know, how long you been in business? How long the Carpenter Church has been in? Well, we've been in business 18, 19 years. Okay, that's great. Oh, okay. How did you start it off? You know, I started it off with my brother, and you know, I was his carpenter, and I evolved from there. But when you ask those questions, you'll find out if the person, one, is qualified, or two, not qualified because he is not experienced. And I would say, right? Did you? You know, I had clients. I had one client right here in Livingston.
And not just because doesn't mean because he's been in business for 1 year doesn't mean he's a bad contractor.
Right, because I would definitely say he's not a bad contractor if he's been in business for a year, because there's real good guys out there that have been in contract, you know, doing construction work for a year. But if you ask them the experience behind it, because, oh, how long you been in business? A year. How many experience you have? 15. Okay, that's great. I need to know that. Because when I first started off, what happened? I had a client here in Livingston. She's like, you physically do roofing? I said, yeah. And she looked at my hand and she started, okay, you have calluses. You're pretty good. Yeah, okay, you have the job, right?
Wow,
but
so you got the job because of your ugly hands.
callous hands.
Ugly hands.
Now I got lotion, right? But what would be another question, right? What would definitely be another question that a client would want to ask?
What is the payment schedule? Everybody's always concerned about the money. What's the payment schedule?
So generally, when we put when it's a roof, it's pretty simple. It's cut and dry. It's generally 50% upfront, and then when the job is kind of done, it's the other 50%, you know, at completion. But when you're doing an extensive job, let's call the job roof, siding, windows, gutters, right? What if you're doing interior, kitchens, bathroom? They want a payment schedule. And let's call that excessive type of job $100,000, right? Let's call it $100,000. They want to know what's the deposit, you know, at signing, right? You sign, okay, it's going to be 10,000. What's going to be my second? It's maybe 20. When we finish this, when we finish that, that'll be. And if you have that in the payment schedule, I think they feel comfortable enough saying, well, I know I have to come up with this money, because people finance and other people will transfer money from a money market account. And sometimes it takes 2 or 3 days to move the money, to shift the money into their account before they can pay the contractor. So a payment schedule is definitely ideal, right? You know, so
Broken up into 3 payments, so like start, deposit, middle, end.
I would say when you're in a job that is like 40,000, you can definitely break it up in 3 payments. I had a client in Staten Island, Asian lady, beautiful lady. She does acupuncture. She already got hacked, you know, by 3 other contractors, right? They took the money, they started, and they left. 3 contractors. I was the 4th. I was recommended by a builder in Staten Island. Long story short, she wanted James Hardy siding. She told me straight up, you're going to rip me off like the other guys. I said, I'm not going to rip you off. I said, I want to go with you. I said, you're going to rip me off. And she told me the whole story about all the other 3 contractors that ripped her off. Long story short, I take a deposit, because when you're taking a deposit with a client, they're committed to you. They're saying, yes, come to my house, take care of the job. I want to go with you, right? That's what you're getting the deposit for. Let me order the materials. So I knew, you know, because thank God I have a heart, right? I understand that people get, you know, duped and tricked, and they're out there, right? And so what I said, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to come to work. The materials are going to be delivered. After the materials are delivered and I start working the first day, I need a deposit. When we're 50% done, I need another deposit. When we're done, well, I'll take the third payment. And she goes, okay. She signed the contract. There was no deposit. Materials were delivered. We started the next day, had the container there. We started tearing off. She was very happy. She gave me the deposit. Why do I say that? Because in reality, you can't do that with every single client, right? Because we're in business we have to pay the materials, right? So we can't do it with every single client. But clients that do have that problem, guess what? You're gonna have to do it, So I would say, what would be the other question?
Not more a question, but what we think every homeowner should ask a contractor.
I would say...
I think, no, I have it here. I have the list. They sent the list over.
Okay.
So the list is, how long should I expect my project to last start to finish?
So generally on the bottom of the contract, a good contractor that's been in business 5 to 10 years, he'll generally will write it on the bottom.
Stages?
Yeah, so he'll say, let's say it's just a roof. A roof is going to take a day to 2 days, right? That's very simple. It always says it on the bottom. If it's siding, it's going to be, depending if it's vinyl, it's going to take 5, maybe 7 days. And it's just stated on the bottom. But there is a clause in those contracts, right? And we tell people, if it's raining, we start, right? And we start that day. And when we start that day, the next day it's raining. And then it's raining next day, and then it's raining next day. So technically speaking, you was going to finish in 1 week. Now you lost 2 or 3 days of rain. Now it just does drag on. So I would definitely say weather would play a big factor. Another factor is when they tear off people's siding, or you're doing a kitchen, you're tearing off the walls, and you find out termites, or you find out damaged plywood, or there's a major leak, whatever happened, that may set back the actual project. And then people are conscious. Customers are definitely conscious of, okay, I guess we're not going to be finishing in 30 days. All right, I understand. If it's a kitchen, right? We're not going to be finished the siding job in a week and a half. I guess it's going to extend itself.
So I think that's a good segue to the next question. Or not the next question, but we feel like homeowners should always ask the contractor, what steps will you take to protect my property?
So what I think that's a good question. And
for the viewers, just in case.
What steps should you take, or what steps are you going to take as a contractor to protect my property? I would go back before I can answer that question, I'll go back to this one, and it would be kids and dogs, right? Kids, dogs, animals, because right now we're finding out that dogs, cats, they're kids. They're the actual kids in the homes. So we want to protect their noise level as well. So we suggest sometimes if you have a dog, if you have a cat, or you have a newborn baby, they shouldn't be in the home, right? Take them to grandma's house, take them to your neighbor's house, something, right? Because the noise level is very, very high. And then actually the next thing would be, how do I protect your home? So I remember this client, West Orange, New Jersey, like it was the other day. And he had these actual plants in front of his house. A landscaper came in, they invested X amount of dollars, right? And we was the roofer there, and he hired us. But before he hired us, he says, these are my babies. I need you to protect them at all costs. I explained to him that I was going to build this shed over. It was like all these flower beds and everything. And I built these, put 2x4s, framed it out, put plywood over it. So if any debris would fall over it, it wouldn't just damage it. So if you have an AC unit, you're putting a piece of plywood over if you're doing the roof. How are you taking care of the patio furniture? We're taking them off your deck and we're moving them away from your property so it doesn't get damaged, right? Whether it's roofing, whether it's siding, whether we're changing the windows, right? Or when we're windows installers, so when we're replacing the windows, right? Or a contractor is replacing a window, we're actually covering the floor, right? We're actually putting plastic to, the beds, the floor, the kids' toys, and everything, and then we're vacuuming after. I say, if you're the homeowner, I would ask that question, and especially because we have clients that are clean freaks. They're there. I respect them. Take off your shoes when you come in, right? Put them on when you leave. I want everything covered. I want everything in plastic. Not a problem. We're going to give you a white glove treatment. Sure. Other clients, I don't care. I don't care what you do. Don't worry. I'll clean up after that. But you have to actually, if you're that type of client, I would ask that question. Because you want to protect your property. You invested X amount of dollars. You want to do that, So
remember, we spoke to that one client one time, and we said that we would always tell the client to ask the contractor, how will you deal with disagreements on the job?
How will you deal with disagreements? So give me an example.
No, so I'll give you an example. How will additional charges be dealt with?
Okay, so
now there's a disagreement. You tore off the roof. The deck is clear. How will you deal with that disagreement as far as the additional charges? How are they going to be dealt with?
So generally now,
and remember, we said that every client should always ask the contractor, how are we going to deal with additional charges? I think putting that question out up front is going to save you a lot of headaches as a client.
I would say if you're a client and let's talk about roofing, right? You're gonna replace the roof, and there is an extra work order in our contracts, and most contractors out there, they will have an extra work order, or they will ask, like, if this is damage or this is damage, it will be X amount per linear feet, per square feet, whatever, how much per sheet, and people will respect that. We have learned from years that we will send you a work order. So this is a common. It just happened probably November. A gentleman wanted to replace his roof. He bought his father's house. True story. He was raised up in that house. His father lived in that house. He moved to a different state. He came back, and this father said, son, I'm going to sell the house. You want me to buy? I'll buy it, Dad. So the roof was bad. So he knew he had to replace it. In replacing, there was, I think, maybe 80 sheets of plywood that had to get replaced. But we were taking out in sections. We would take out this section, and then after we would take out this section, we would show him. So listen, we would do a FaceTime with him so he can physically see it. And after he would physically see it, he would approve of it. But we would send an extra work order showing him how much it would cost for that replacement of plywood. And we did 4 sections of his roof, and all 4 sections had to be replaced. I think it makes it easier because then I don't feel that awkwardness. Like, I feel like you ripped me off, No, it was in the contract. I got the approval from you, and you were fine with that because you can't install shingles on bad plywood. You just can't do that. The shingles are eventually gonna fly off. The nails are not gonna hold into the old rotten plywood, right? So I would definitely ask that question. What happens if this happens? What if we had to replace all the plywood, right? This is what's going to happen. And give them an extra work order. Send them the extra work order. Let them sign off on it. Let them approve of it. Show them a video. I had people walk up on the roof, and they would physically see it. It has to be replaced. Take it off. That same client, we had to replace about 9 rafters because they were damaged. So definitely would pose that question,
So finally, legalities, paperwork, and licensing. So another common question you get is, are you licensed? Will you pull out permits? And what are the warranties? So mention all 3 of them. Talk about all 3 of them separately if you like.
So I would say if you live in the state of New Jersey or in the state of New York, and I say New York City, right? You live in the Bronx, Brooklyn, Manhattan, Queens, Staten Island, right? You do not need to get a permit for roofing and siding, right? Unless you're doing an addition. So now before, and I'm going to say maybe 8-10 years back in New Jersey, you needed to pull out a permit to do the roof in New Jersey. Always. You cannot, if you would get caught, the inspector would tell you, get off the roof and put a tarp on it. I remember years back, an inspector caught me in Orange, New Jersey. He says, who's the owner of the company? I said, I'm here. I'm on the roof. And he goes, come on down. He goes, you got 30 minutes to get to my office and get a permit right now. If not, I'm stopping the job. What do you think I did? I ran down to the building department, pulled out the permit. I think it was $75, wrote out a check. Boom, you're done. But that was then. Now you don't need a permit, right? Licensing, I would say it's good to get someone that's licensed because the contractor committed himself to a lot of different things in order to get a license, right? He had a...
Can an unlicensed person do the roof?
Of course, and I'll say that, right? If you're unlicensed, you can do the roof. You as a homeowner can do the roof. The problem, what happens is that if you don't get somebody that's licensed, you don't have a paper trail in order to, if they're not licensed, if they're not insured, you're not going to be able to, quote unquote, get that paper trail and then actually, if something happens, the roof is leaking. Hey, hello, yes. You was the roofer that did, yeah. It's leaking. Yeah, I'll be there tomorrow. Yeah, I called you last month. It's leaking. Yeah. And then finally he doesn't pick up anymore. He's not committed to licensing. He's not committed to business bureau, Better Business Bureau. He's not committed to anything that will hold him down. He can take the money, leave, don't worry, and that's it. He's just going to get to the next client. But a person that's licensed and insured, he's definitely committed to the client because he doesn't want to bring a bad reputation, right? Can you have insurance without having a license? You can have insurance. But generally, not really, because in order for you to have insurance, you have to have a legal name. You have to have a EIN number. You need those things because the insurance brokers ask those things. So I'm going to say no. But there's a lot of roofing companies out there that don't have a license and don't have insurance, and they're just working for major builders, and really they have no liability. They're no risk, meaning they're the highest risk to those builders and to homeowners. Listen, consumer affairs in New Jersey and in New York City, it's like a cheese line. If you guys know what a cheese line is, it's the longest line. So many different complaints, right? What did you knew he was licensed? That was the first question. I didn't bother asking him. It was a good price. Duh, right? You needed to ask him that, right? Especially if you're investing X amount of dollars. You're investing $10,000, $20,000, $40,000. Make sure he's licensed. If he's just a handyman down the corner and he's just going to change your sink and he's going to change, a couple of, fixtures and stuff like that, he doesn't have to be licensed, But definitely, that's a top question. What was the third one? Warranties, yeah. So I like to say warranties, like in roofing and in siding, is the warranty pays for itself. If you have a warranty, let's call it GAF, Golden Pledge Warranty, right? Let's call it GAF Golden Pledge Warranty, 25 years. You're covered by GAF for the next 25 years, right? So material and labor. So yeah, the contractor can go out of business. The contractor can move to Puerto Rico. He can move to Aruba. He's out of the business. They will call someone else that's certified, that's licensed through GAF to take care of your roof because you paid for that warranty. I like to call it a bumper-to-bumper warranty, and a lot of clients don't know about it. They'll say, take it out. I don't want it. Go ahead. You just moved into your house. You have a daughter. You have a son. They're like 1-2 years old. You're gonna be here for the next 20 years. I would take the warranty. The same thing for the siding. You do not want somebody to install your roof or the siding without a warranty, especially if it's a reputable company. They're going to take care of you, They're going to stand behind it. So, guys, if you have any comments, any questions, leave the comments below. If you think I missed something, write it down, especially for my competitors that are watching. Keep watching.